I'm Lorian, and this is episode 6 of the Knitting End YouTube podcast. I started this channel as a way to connect with friends, knitters, friends who were knitters, knitters who were friends, on another platform. I'm glad you're here. If you're new, thanks for checking it out. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel. It helps tell YouTube to show this kind of content to like-minded people. I have a lot to show you today. I have a couple of finished objects. I have a bunch of cast-ons, because that's what you do when you finish stuff, and a few acquisitions. I also finished one book, started another book. I've had some free time. Last week, I was on spring break. I work in a public high school, and so I had a lot of time just to relax and get some things finished, and visited 2 yarn stores in different directions from me on different days. And mostly it was a low-key week, but it did include quite a bit of knitting. So let's get started. I am wearing the Whitmoor sweater. I'm gonna get up from my seat so you can see it down here. So it is a lace yoked sweater design, crew neck, stockinette sleeves and body, and kind of a classic fit. I did shorten the pattern, so it had one more repeat of this lace chart. I also made my lace holes a little bit smaller. That pulled some things together. I knew I was gonna need a shirt underneath wearing this, but I'm happy with it all around. The yarn, let me get my chair back. The yarn that I used for this is from Foster Sheep Farm, who I have admired for years, and I'm just delighted to have a finish in their product. This is the Claire's Corrie. It is naturally dyed in indigo, and I actually had one skein from a slightly different dye batch, but you really could not tell. I did use helical knitting, where you alternate skeins in the round, and you cannot tell. I do have a bit left, a little less than a skein. What else can I say? I really enjoyed this knit. The pattern to me seems a little more complicated, but that's because there are a lot of sizes, and because for most or many of the sizes, this lace chart goes beyond the sleeve divide, which I love, but I also decided was not necessary for my size. I did do a few more increases, which you can almost kind of see. They're very subtle, and that was what the pattern would have called for. And it was a joy to knit. I don't know why it took me quite as long as I feel like it took me. Although I was working on another sweater at the same time, and I did block this midway. So when you do that, you're soaking, letting it dry, losing time, and so that's a factor. The dye in this yarn did crock, which means it came off on my hands. I don't think it's coming off on my sweater. It came off a little bit in the soak water, but it didn't really stain the towels or anything that it was on. I think it was mostly on my hands. It didn't come off on any of the clothes I was wearing as I was knitting it. I believe in talking to Carol of Foster Sheep Farm, she thought it might have to do with like the lotions or natural like oils in my hands, which could totally be the case. I love her yarns. I want to knit with something that she dyes with cochineal, which is a red dye, and I'm hoping that she has something the next time I see her that will fit the bill. What else can I tell you? Patterned by Aimee Lowden. It's a DK weight sweater pattern. It was designed to be knit with a fluffier yarn and a strand of fingering held together. I just was happy doing it with the DK strand. And there's also a cardigan version if that is more of your style. I feel like it's classic with a little bit of zhuzh. So again, that's the Whitmoor sweater. Next up, also finished, yay, is the Yoke Meditation 3 sweater. This is a pattern. I've been showing you this knit for some time. This is a circular yoke pattern design, part of a series of designs by Zanete Knits. And this was knit on size 2s and 2.5 needles. I broke 3 different needles in the process. They're all Lika driftwood needles, and I am waiting. I did return one. I did with the return form. Haven't received anything back. So we'll see. I think I've done one return of just a tip before. I think it might have cost me the same amount to ship it to them, because I had to ship the broken pieces to them, as it might have been to get another piece. But I'm curious to see how they do in service. They have been a favorite needle of mine so far. What can I tell you? A little bit about the design. You do knit the collar afterwards. So the yarns I use, the color changing yarn is from Yarn Hero, and it is the Merge Sport. All of this is sport weight. I believe it's the color Sweetheart. I don't have the tag because I got it in last summer's seconds sale. And they came without ball bands or skein wraps. The gray color, my intent was to knit this with the gray fully. And then I realized I did not have enough of the gray. This gray is from Ravenwood Farm. It had 375 yards per skein, and I only had 3. This is all I have left. I think it would have been cutting it very close to have done it all in gray. So the cream color is from Botanical Shades, and it's their 2-ply sport. It's just a natural undyed yarn. That's all I have left. I use this in another sweater, and I fortunately had the sport. I actually think it adds a really cool look that the top of it is in the cream. It really pops. The color pops differently this way. This took me some time, not just because I kept breaking needles, but I also blocked it throughout. So I blocked the yoke. I blocked the sleeves. I actually blocked the sleeves twice, and I might do it again because I think I took them off a little bit. They were kind of a 1/2 inch too short, and I just reblocked them and they were fine. I have worn this sweater. This gray yarn blocked out so beautifully. So I might be wearing this weekend. Is Connecticut Sheep and Wool, which is a smaller but mighty fiber festival held in North Haven, Connecticut, which is not too far from me, maybe about 35 minutes. And Ravenwood is going to be there, and I think it could be fun to wear this. So that is a finish. I have knit a few of Jeanette's other patterns, and I think she is a brilliant designer. She has an amazing sense. I have only knit colorwork patterns, so I think those are brilliant. She has other designs as well. I'm really happy, very happy with the finish, even though it took me a while. One thing I want to show you, which I've been doing, I did on both of these sweaters. Let me see where it's good to, where I have a good picture of it. I guess I'll do the waist. So I have been doing, you can see that bind off. I've been doing an Icelandic bind off on my edges, and I really love it. I think it's very clean, it's loose, but it doesn't flare. It's easy to find a video on YouTube. That's how I learned it. One, I can't remember, but a sweater I knit called for it, and I've been using it since. It's on this collar here. I just think it's very sweet and clean looking. So I like that. I'm really happy with both of these sweaters. And yeah, red, these color combination, you're gonna see again in the fall. I have a worsted weight combo of this cream and gray color going to be going into a cardigan, a yoke cardigan, but mostly red and white here, and then the rest will be gray. I have the design and I like the pattern kind of in my head. All right, so delighted to be finished knitting those 2 sweaters, and I'm happy to add them to my wardrobe. I would say that I have enough blue, medium to dark blue sweaters, except I started a third. a third. I started another. So I will have enough. Once I finish this one, I'm planning to take a break from blue and enter a different phase. So I have, in the last week, cast on and knit. I cast on and knit some amount of this twice. This is the Calypso worsted. I'm now at the sleeve divide and body divide. That's the back here. This is the front. It has a folded collar, 2x2 rib, and a really sweet worsted weight color work design. For the color changing yarn, which it calls for as an option, but you don't have to. The whole reason I knit this is because I had these Spincycle Dream State seconds. And I believe I had bought them in their like seconds, mystery second sale. So this is kind of what I have left, more or less, that I did not use from 3 of the 5 skeins. I color managed, I guess you could say. I might still use this yellow. The yellow is the color I kind of loved the most and wanted to make sure I had. I started this sweater and felt, when I got to this pinky purple color, I was like, this is not me. This alone with navy, maybe. Even the version that's the section that's showing, like maybe this purple with navy, maybe. Not with all these other colors. If there's a color I really don't wear much of, it's purple. I can't explain why. I do have a few purple, I do have some purple sweaters, and I have sweaters with purple in them, but it wasn't working. If you follow me on Instagram, where I should have said, I am Yarn Love Turtle on Ravelry, Instagram, and here on YouTube, and the channel is called Knitting And. You can find me on all of those, Yarn Love Turtle. I posted a picture where coming down into like here, it wasn't even all this yellow. The yellow I had started in the inside, folded a bunch of it over. And so by about here, that purple was coming into play and it just wasn't doing it. I know there is some purple coming into like this section here and probably a little bit more further down. Not too much. I got really into the kind of blues. There's purple here. I'm really happy that I took this out and restarted. I truly restarted from the beginning, and because I was on vacation, break from work, at home, and we had some rainy days, I got quite a lot done. So the other yarn that I am using is this absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous navy. It is Gilliatt, not sure how to pronounce it. It's from Rerum Natura, which is a French producer, and the put up is amazing. The cost is amazing. It's 100% wool, non-superwash. I think they said it was 275 yards for 100 grams. It was $20 a skein. I bought this at Do Ewe Knit when I visited them in Basking Ridge, New Jersey for their grand reopening. I basically brought my Spincycle skeins and showed them what they look like and said I need a solid, and not a huge fan of superwash if possible. So I'm really happy with this combo. At this point, I'm pretty much doing stockinette in this navy. I have 2 balls left and this yarn barf left, but it's actually not messy. To finish the body and the sleeves, and I feel like I'll be great. This is a fun knit. I will say also, it does come in a sport weight version. It's by Black Cat Knitting Co., the design. The sport weight version has a slightly different collar. It has a picot edge, which is just a little more dainty, but appropriate for a lighter weight yarn. I knit that one in December. You can see it on my Ravelry project page. What else can I say? I just think it's fun. It knits up quickly because it's worsted. I am using, calls for a 5 and a 7, and I used an 8 for the color work. It definitely will need a blocking because it's pulling in a bit, but it has plenty of space, plenty of room to give because of going up that needle size. So that is that. That's kind of now my knitting reading. I can read and knit if it's stockinette in the round, Oh yeah, straight stockinette, I can knit and read, no problem. So I needed to get that sweater to a place where I could read, because I finished this sweater, which had been my knit and read sweater. What will I do with the rest of these bits and bobs of, other than the yellow, which I'm pretty sure, so the cuffs on that sweater call for corrugated ribbing with the colored yarn again. So I'll probably use the yellow for that because I like the yellow and navy combo. The rest of this I will put into, I believe somewhere I have saved in my queue a pair of scrappy mittens that use color changing yarns. So when I get to that project, I'll let you know. I am holding it in those pieces in my Maybelle, I think it's Maybelle Designs, Maybelle Style. I don't have to guess. Maybelle stands for something. Maybelle makers always bring extra love or something like that. They've really hit they're quilted bags, they quilted jackets, they take antique quilts and repurpose them. I won this at Vogue Knitting Live's raffle, and this was their prize donation from Vogue Knitting Live 2023. Okay. Next. Oh, this one I've spent a lot of time just this weekend working on this next project, which is it's just too precious. Let me organize because the knitting part is finished. This is just the most sweet baby dress. It is called the Twisted Ribbon Baby Dress, and that's after this pattern, which the designer found in a Japanese stitch dictionary. You could knit it in one color. I did not have enough of the white. It is knit bottom up. It's a free pattern. Let me just check my notes for the designers. So the designer is Astrid Colding Sivertsen. And the yarn I used is another complete favorite of mine. It is Lion Brand Coboo. The white is just called white, and this particular pink is called pale pink, which I think doesn't look all that pale when it's paired with the white. I do still have to do some very basic crochet edging around the sleeves and the neckline, and this side has two little buttonholes here, and I need to attach some buttons. The pattern actually has you separate for sleeves and then knitting the front and the back at the same time, even after you divide into the straps. I did front and then I did back, and I did 2 balls once I got to dividing each. I just didn't need 4 balls on in the works. It only comes in a size 3 to 6 months. I knit this as a gift. Ooh, sorry, that's really blowing out. There we go. I knit this as a gift for a friend who was a first-time grandma for her baby. The baby's only a month old, so this is perfect. This Coboo by Lion Brand is, let's see, the put up, is 51% cotton and 49% rayon from bamboo. I have knit myself a sweater in it. I've knit my daughter a sweater in it, which I think she lost and I'm not happy. Or a friend of hers has it and maybe she'll get it back. I really enjoy this. This yarn was actually discounted until 9 o'clock this morning, and I used a lot of restraint. This is probably, I have not knit a ton of baby items since my own kids were babies, but this really is one of my favorite, there we go, designs, patterns to use as a baby girl gift. Okay, so I do have a little bit to finish on that. Oh, one other quick thing. I knew I only had so much white and so much pink, and I wasn't gonna get the whole garment in one color. So I decided, I felt like it was better to put the white on the bottom, just in case like the baby spit up and they didn't have a bib or something. I don't know. That was the thinking. Okay, next. Okay, I have loved this pattern for quite some time. So this is the Matrjoschka Mittens. It's actually part of a pattern called Deer and Matrjoschka. So what I have done is I have knit the cuffs for both mittens, and now I knit those two at a time. It has this sweet little faux cable here, and I did fewer repeats. I just didn't think I needed them quite as long. The pattern calls for you to use them 1.5, and I'm using 1s because I think my yarn, it's fingering, but I think this red might be running a little thicker than the pattern called for. And it's these little Russian dolls. Now, I will show you, I think, well, it says to use, what I'm using is gray. So this is from, I don't have my ball band. Nope, next time, because I'll be working on these for a bit. This is from the Gray Sheep, and this is from Mitchell Wilco. It was a special month, color of the month, special dyed color of the month from February of 2023. And I love this red, absolutely love it. So, and I have adored this pattern. It's by Elenor Mortensen. And the gray is called the background color, and the red is called the main color, which I can see makes sense here. But once you get into these large areas of red, you kind of lose the white or the gray. So I've decided, since they're just for me, I'm gonna change my dominant color for a bit and use the gray as the dominant in my left hand. I knit color work, one in each hand, one color in each hand. So I'm knitting a row on this here and there, and I have divided the cake for the red, but I'm using just the gray on its own. I'm hoping I don't run out. I'll be really upset if I run out. And I decided after the cuff to just knit the one because the pattern is mirrored. Now you do get 2 patterns when you purchase this pattern. You get another, the cuff is the same, but the color work charts are different. And one of them is a picture of a deer with its like stag horns swirling. And the Matrjoschka, I'm sure I'm not fully pronouncing that properly. The other thing that this does have is it does go back and have duplicate stitch. So I probably on these little marks that are getting lost, they're supposed to also be duplicate stitched. We'll see how much I'm gonna put into these once I get to that point. But I love this pattern. I'm not in a rush to finish it. Won't be wearing mittens for a bit, so, but happy to have it. Happy to just throw in a couple of rounds at a time even. All right, let's see. I think I have 2 other cast-ons. And what I can tell you about this one is it's a freestyle pattern. So I had seen someone selling this color of Noro Ito, I-T-O yarn. It's colorway 23, Kure, K-U-R-E. It is discontinued, and I had seen someone destashing it, and I wished I'd jumped on it. It was a great price, and I didn't. And then I became kind of obsessed with getting it and making something with it. So I found, coincidentally, 2 skeins. The Noro does come in dye lots. So it was, if I had wanted more than 2 skeins, and I think it's an Aran weight yarn. It's 438, 37 yards in one of these kind of heavy, oversized cakes. And I had found 2 of them at a yarn shop in Connecticut called Nitty Gritty Yarn Shop, or Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl Shop. It's in Niantic, Connecticut. I emailed them. The owner, Paulette, is absolutely lovely. Let me see. Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl Shop. And she told me they come in dye lots. She held the 2. She said, I said, could I do a local pickup? It's about an hour drive from me, but I knew I was gonna be on break and needing some adventures. And so a friend of mine, one of my local knitting friends, came with me. I paid the invoice online, went last week and picked this up. And Paulette was so sweet. She had on the sandwich board to her shop, "Welcome Lorian," on the outside. This shop is beautiful. I feel like I did not know it existed. Amazing selections of yarns, including Noro and a bunch of others that I'm going to draw a blank on right now, but some really, really beautiful yarns, art yarns. Trying to think. I think she had quite a few Juniper Moon Farm yarns, and just some beautiful sample pieces, a lovely space, super friendly owner. Paulette was there herself. Apparently her store used to be mobile. It used to be a truck, and they would tour and go to fiber festivals. And then when COVID hit, there weren't festivals, they stopped touring, but they kept selling. She has a YouTube channel, a Facebook Live, an Instagram Live, and she goes live on all three simultaneously. I have not caught her live. I have watched some of her YouTube videos, and she's just delightful. And I had so much fun at her store. So, what am I doing with this? I'm freestyling a circular yoke sweater. This is as far as I am, which is not very far, because I'm just sort of figuring it out in my head and documenting it on my page as I go. No pattern, but I am using the Strange Brew sweater recipe for stitch counts, for where to add length, where to add width. This is wide. I will add some kind of neckline at the end, but I love the softness of these colors, and I think they're really pretty, and I'm glad that I was able to score these two skeins. I could have gotten more from like a store in, I believe, Germany or Canada, and paid just too much for something I'm kind of making up, and is an addition to my knit list for the year, which I've really tried not to add to the list I started with. And for the most part, I've been knitting from my original list. I am knitting these on size 8 needles, which was also the impetus to get through the colorwork section of this, because I needed my tips for this sweater. Last point is, I think it's, well, I love the stitch marker. It's air. Oops. I'm gonna get that out of the way. Put this here. Turn it. I have a little set of like 80s stitch markers, which I have to look up who they came from. This one is a little star. Yeah, I had a heart. Do I have it in here? No, I don't know where that one went. Anyway, it was a little set, and it was super fun. So that's I'm calling it my Noro Pullover. And I also cast on, last but not least, so this was actually yarn that I recently acquired also, but it's already started. I have swatched, this is my swatch right here, for the Milton cardigan. This is a pattern by Locatelli. She published it January of this year, just before Vogue Knitting Live New York City. It was originally designed using Aimee in her mohair and her merino sport nouveau. And Aimee was at Vogue Knitting Live selling her beautiful yarns from the Brooklyn General booth. And I am using Noir. Is a newer color. It's black. It is pure black. And I am using the Suri, which is Little Kumo, which is a variation. It was originally designed in mohair, and I prefer Suri. I actually only have one skein, which falls a little bit short of what the pattern calls for. Locatelli is 5'7". Lorian is 5'3". I don't need my cardigans to be as long as Hohi's patterns call for. This is going to be my third kind of long cardigan of Hohi's designs by Joji. I think it was called the Long Summer Cardigan, and I knit the All of the Lights, which is a cabled cardigan. And I love them. I love the way they fit. I enjoyed knitting both of them, but I did realize that I don't need quite the length. So hopefully I have enough. I could always do a thicker block of just the solid sport, and I'm excited that I'm getting gauge. So because I had these needles on the little baby dress, I needed to get that finished in order to get this going. All the whips, I'm telling you. Okay, I think that's all of my works in progress, finished objects. Let's move on to a couple of additional acquisitions. So while I was at the Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl shop, Paulette had some really fun samples, and one of them was a market bag. And it was knit in 2 different colors of Queensland cairn, I'm not sure how to say this, which is a cotton blend yarn. Let's look at the put up. I believe it's Aran weight. It's 60% cotton, 40% acrylic, very reasonably priced, but people, it's a bag. And I bought these 2 colors. I originally chose something different, something with more like blue and purple. And then I decided that was probably not as me as something with more neutrals. These are not the same color. This is 35 and this one is 40. And I love a knitted bag. I've knit one every so often. I do try to remember to use them. So that pattern is by Ginger Snap Designs. I am really trying to get better. Not only will there be show notes, there will be links this time. I had a little bit of free time at my work today, and I pulled all of the links. I have my show notes with links, so we're getting serious. Anyway, I think it's a beautiful bag. You should definitely check it out. Don't know when I'll get it on the needles, but now I have no excuse. I have the materials. So when I got on this sort of hunt for this color of the Noro, the Coeur, I also thought, I would really love, I really don't need a ton more sweaters, pullovers than I have planned. But my cardigans are many fewer. And as I was looking for the Noro, I also saw this color, which is a little bit more in my wheelhouse for me. Even this bright yellowy green, these are kind of more my colors in my autumn color family, if you will. Again, this is an Aran weight yarn. This one is called Koasi, Koasi. It's color number 60. And I acquired 3 of these balls. So now I can check the yard is just 400 meters. It's 100% wool. There we go. So I have 3 of them. I bought these online from Little Knits Seattle. I want to say I think I saved $30 or more by buying from them. These were discounted. If they usually sell for like $49.95, these were $39.95. I really love Little Knit Seattle. Sometimes you can get amazing prices. Rowan Felted Tweed, they have some really good yarns. I think they get certain discontinued things, but I think they get some that are still in play. I won't be knitting with this until probably fall, winter, but it's going to become some kind of basic cardigan sweater. Not cables or anything, just something that shows off these gorgeous colors. All right, and on Friday, my son he's a university student, and he has finished 3 years of university classes. He has 1 more year to go, but built into his program is a year's worth of time working in internship/co-op. It has to be compensated. He is a mechanical engineering student, and he happens to work for a company that does 4 10-hour days. So he has Fridays off. And for my birthday, which was in March, he said to me, you and I are going to take a drive to Kingston, New York. It's a little over an hour 15, hour 30 from us. He loves to drive. We plan different adventures like that together. And I knit, he drives, we talk. It's great. We get some good food. And he knew that in Kingston, I had last summer visited a yarn shop called Yarn Farm Kingston. Now, if you see here, it says Yarn Shop and Wine Bar, Kingston, New York. The owners are Jocelyn and Todd, and they are absolutely delightful. my local knitting friends and I last summer did a bit of a yarn crawl, and this was one of the stores we visited. I don't know that they'd been even open all of that, maybe a year, maybe not. And they had local yarns. It is just a lovely, lovely store, and it's a bar. It's like a solid, serious bar. Now, they don't serve wine until after 3 p.m. And and this yarn store, I think, opens at noon. So we got there earlier. We ended up having a delicious lunch around the corner. Some very cute restaurants right in the same couple of blocks where they are. And the salesperson who was working for them when we visited was super lovely, made some nice restaurant suggestions. So I picked up a skein of yarn. It's just too cute. First of all, I'm in love with red these days. So this is by Galler Yarns. It's called Wool You Be My Baby. Wool You Be My Baby. It's 25% superwash merino, 75% superwash merino and 25% baby alpaca. Super, very, very soft. The color is called Valentine. It was on sale. And then, of course, yes, I bought this little insulated cup. I don't really like hot drinks in these metal ones. I like cold drinks, personally. But one of my local knitting friends, first of all, we're going to go back to knit night, which is when they also have the bar open. People come, they bring their partners who may or may not knit. My local knitting friends and I are going on a road trip to knit night. It's far. It's over an hour, but these are the things we do. And my friend said, is this what you're going to bring to drink your wine from? Maybe not. I don't really drink that much or that often. I'm not sure what this is going to become. I do have a sweater's quantity, I'm going to pet it, of a sport weight camel colored yarn. This is kind of a very, this is a fingering, I think. So we'll see how it works up with that. It would be somewhere between a sport and a fingering. It's 371 yards for 100 grams. So it's a little heavier than your usual sport. But it has a little bit of a fluff because of this alpaca in it. Let's see. I think I'm just looking around and I have showed you everything. So I'm gonna move on to just a couple of personal updates, but first the book. So first a sip. So I did last week finish reading the sequel, although there will be a third book coming out, the sequel to Fourth Wing, a fantasy book by Rebecca Yarros. The second book is called Iron Flame, and I finished that. Those are both available in the school library where I work. They're a little steamy. They run a little bit hot in a few places, and so I don't really think they'll be staying in our library for, our school's library. But I enjoyed the reads, and there will be a third one coming out, I think, January of 2025. My next book is called The Great Divide. It has this gorgeous, colorful cover, and our town does an annual, I believe it is, community read, and the library partners usually with one of the banks, the local banks, and gets these books underwritten in partnership. So they actually give them out. So I was able to get my copy, and I have started reading it. It is by Christina Enriquez, and it is a book it is literary nonfiction. It is about the building of the Panama Canal. I am only about 20 pages in. It is very dense, but that's kind of what you get with did I say literary nonfiction? It's a historical fiction. It's not nonfiction. But it has a lot of history facts built into it. And it's one of my favorite genres to read, so I'm excited to have cracked that open and excited to have a project to be able to knit on while I read it. Okay, what else? So just a few personal things. I started my break with a workshop, a yoga workshop. I have been a certified yoga instructor, registered yoga instructor, almost 10 years. October of this year will be 10 years. And I have taught at knitting retreats. I have taught at studios. I have just taught at larger groups. I've taught privates. I've taught small groups. Most of what I teach now is small private group out of my home. Sometimes outside, sometimes more often inside. Sometimes nature doesn't work in your favor with damp lawn or bugs or fill in the blank, or it just becomes too hot and humid. But sometimes it's actually gorgeous to be outside. I have done some other subsequent enhancement trainings, meditation teacher trainings, restorative teacher training. And so the opportunity came up to attend this workshop on yin yoga. And it was held over Friday night for 3 hours, Saturday for 7 plus an hour of homework, and Sunday for another 7 hours. It included the homework, it included a practical test, it included a written test, and it was quite a lot. I was exhausted. It was really interesting. Yin yoga is something that I've practiced, that I've been really interested in learning more about. I have taught it based on what I knew about it. Now I feel even better at teaching it, knowing more. It's a passive, non-muscular, not sweaty form of yoga. It has its own set of poses, some of which look a lot like hatha yoga poses, or look exactly the same. They may have a different name. And you take the pose and you stay in it. You settle, you soften, find stillness for 3 to 5 minutes. And you're not clenching your muscles, you're just allowing the body to release and relax. It's often used for physical recovery. It's also used for physical preparation. It's meditative. It does test mental fortitude simply because of holding a pose for that long. But again, you're not using your muscles. You're actually allowing the connective tissue, fascia, all that good stuff. We had a lot of anatomy. I really got a refresher on anatomy. And it was great. It was only 5 students, the teacher, and I was really glad to be able to do it. I was also really glad that I had a week to decompress afterwards before going back to work, because it was just a lot in a shorter amount of time. But it was fun. I'm really glad I did it. And even in my weekly class this past weekend, we did a small amount of yin yoga. So there's that. What else? Today was our first day back at work. I did an intro with this, but it is Monday, April the 22nd, and we have 7 or 8 weeks left. I think it's 8 weeks left of school until summer, and my job is a 10-month job, so I have a break over the summer, which I am looking forward to. This Saturday, as I mentioned earlier, is the Connecticut Sheep and Wool Festival held in North Haven, Connecticut. Again, that's about 35-40-minute drive from my house, and I'm planning to go with some friends, and I don't really need yarn. I'm not sure what I'm even in the market for. I have plenty of sweaters quantities to knit through, and that really is my goal, is to try to knit through what I have, and then after that to be a heck of a lot more, even more selective about what I make. I love what I make. I wear everything that I make, but a couple of years ago I sort of felt like my cup was full with shawls, and so I limit myself to 2 a year. And I feel like I've pretty much hit that space with sweaters, maybe not cardigans, but certainly with pullovers. So I have some phenomenal. I love pretty much all of my cardigans and wear them, but I probably have like 6, where I probably have closer to 70 pullovers. So I would like to make a few more cardigans that I have ideas for. I don't know if any are, and one of them is currently on my knitting plans for this year. Two, because now that I've bought that reddish colored red and pink Noro yarn. So I feel like this time next year I'll be going through, like, I'll have really shifted kind of how I choose what I'm making. Sometimes now I choose based on looking and saying, you really don't need another cream colored sweater, Lorian, or camel or natural colored sweater, or even dark chocolate brown color work sweater. And that's good. It's good to have some guidelines with myself. I love what I make, so don't get me wrong. But I just feel like, I'm not there yet, but a change probably is coming. What else? Yeah, I'm ready to I'm sort of finishing up these knits, and then I'm really ready to get into more lightweight knits. The Milton cardigan is, to me, I know it's sport weight and Surrey lace, but it really is a lighter weight knit. I do have a couple of projects on my what I call my knit list, which I make at the very end of each year for the following year, what I plan to knit. And I do have a few that are intended for warmer weather. They're either fingering, superwash, sock. I have some tencel and I have a sweater's quantity of tencel and a sweater's quantity of some type of cotton. I can't remember. I think it's cotton. Also planned for summer. So maybe next time I come on, I will go through kind of what's coming up, because I do know what I intended to knit seasonally. But at the moment, I'm still working my way through a couple of the tail end of winter, early spring. I think that's everything. I've showed you quite a lot, and it was good to catch up. Like I said earlier, if you are not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It does help with YouTube showing this channel to people who maybe haven't discovered it yet. And also reach out, become a friend on Ravelry or a follower on Instagram. Instagram, I will follow you back unless you have a private account. I don't like to intrude on those. If you have a public account, I'll follow you back. If you're on Ravelry, I friend you back. And feel free to leave a comment. I'm not going to pose a question. You're welcome to just give me some feedback if you have any feedback. I tell you, it's always interesting to talk to yourself for an hour. I could do this today in my kitchen, which I love the lighting here better than my living room, where I have filmed several other episodes. But my dog has access to this space. His name is Cooper. He is a light red standard poodle. He's 6 years old in a couple of weeks. He joins me in December for Countdown, because he has had his own doggy countdown calendar, advent calendar, and so he will join me on Instagram. And when he sees me start to talk to a screen, he thinks he needs to get in the picture, and so he will start barking. He will be a nudge. I can put him outside, he will keep barking. And so I really have to kind of leave the room, this is one of his spaces in our house, and I haven't found success when he's home. He's currently being groomed. And so I snuck this in, realizing that I would have some quiet time and no barking poodles. All right, that's a wrap for today. Take care and see you next time. Bye.